Hello and welcome to NoCB, a grand strategy podcast where I still can't get webcams to work on OBS. I am your host for this week, Len, and I am here with Rose.
Hello.
And with Lambert.
Hello there.
And Loris is going to be off on some exciting Welsh adventures.
I'm sure there's another horse involved, or some sheep. Maybe a coal mine.
Maybe a horse got stuck in the coal mine. Never know.
Ooh, maybe got stuck in the coal mine by some sheep that were envious of it. It was taller than them.
Could be. Where was I? My brain is like completely.
Sheep and horses are literally all that we've talked about so far. Where were you? Sheep and horses.
Sheep and horses stuck in coal mines.
I mean, Elden Ring ruined my sleep. I'll blame it on that.
What's a sleep cycle?
No, it's something that I hear some people have. It might just be a myth.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've heard that there are people who actually like go to bed at a specific time and wake up at a specific time and like.
Nah.
I mean, I wake up at the same time every day because little rosebud, but
True.
going to bed at the same time, I try.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, third trimester insomnia sucks.
Regular insomnia is enough.
Yeah, like people who can just like go to bed and like fall asleep at will.
Yes.
To me, that seems like a superpower. I hope you know.
There is a negative to that. My husband's like that. Like, he turns off the light, he can be asleep in less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
Usually less than 3. But if he does not get a solid, at least like 6 hours straight when he falls asleep like that, he is a zombie. When someone like me,
anyway,
I could normally when not pregnant, I take like 15 to 30 minutes to fall asleep. But if I wake up in the middle and get up, use the bathroom, have a drink of water, and then I can go straight back to bed. Like I can fall right back asleep.
15 to 30 is still a superpower.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, I know you've got insomnia, but that's a different story. Talk to more Dave.
If I
oh my word,
I think if I don't get at least 6 hours of sleep in a row, I'm kind of a zombie right now. That's probably why.
It's enough to the point where when we had the newborn to take care of, Rosebud was the newborn, I was doing okay sleeping like 3 hours, waking up, taking care of him, being up for like 30, 45 minutes, then going right back to sleep, and then taking an afternoon nap. So I was getting like 9 hours over the course of the day in like 3 chunks. If he did not get a solid 6 hour chunk, he did not have the ability or patience to help with the newborn. Like it was on the verge of his breaking point.
Yeah.
What we did was I would stay up during the night with Logan, and then I would sleep, and then Linda would be up during the day with Logan. It worked. We just split the sleeping. It works.
Doesn't work when I had to get up and pump every 3 hours overnight.
Yeah,
I had to be up anyway.
That's hard to divide. That's a responsibility that's hard to divide between.
Yeah, like, no, we can't do that one, I'm afraid.
So it worked well in that before he would go to bed and we'd do the final feeding, I would pump, he would feed the rosebud at the same time. But that middle of the night pump, when the rosebud also needed a bottle, I would prop him up against my leg, hold the bottle while I sat there pumping at the same time. And then in the morning, I would just have the dirty bottles would just sit there on the nightstand, and when my husband woke up in the morning, he cleaned everything up, and like I didn't have to wash a single bottle or dish until he went back to work, which was nice for 10 weeks.
That sounds more than fair.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was more than fair. We didn't even have laundry in the house, so he would go to the laundromat a couple times a week and do that too. So I was fine because as long as he let me take that afternoon nap. Whew.
Talking of babies and breast pumps, 23.
I was gonna say the only time that I can actually fall asleep right away is if I've done a lot of hard physical work that day, such as construction.
I Wait, Leanne, I want to know how Lambert was going to go from breast pumps to construction. I really do.
Yeah, no, that was it.
Yeah, it was a non-transition. It was a transition.
Those are the best ones. You can try and shoehorn in the most janky segues you want, but like all you need is a couple of wheels and a stick, and that's your segue. It's good. It does it.
Lambert, how does construction work in Victoria? How are breast pumps involved?
So first, you need the booby. Right? No.
You need flanges and an outlet.
Yeah.
No, you can also just have some way of creating pressure, so you could use a manual too.
Yeah, see, this is where you need your invention for better pumps.
Oh yeah, that's a.
Well, you need electricity
in
first,
coal mines and in the increases the the fertility rate and all that.
Yeah, needs of dependent pops, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know.
And babies are pretty dependent.
Lower the infant mortality rate or something.
Oh yeah. And just you need to lower that infant mortality rate so that they can go in the mines.
Of course, right? Yeah, that's what.
Well, you can't send the infants in the mines; they can't even walk yet.
Babies are.
Well, I mean, you can't walk in a mine anyway. The roof's too low.
You know, some babies are skipping. They're skipping over crawling, so then they'd be totally stuck. They could never be in the mines.
No, screwed. Absolutely screwed. Anyway, construction.
Yeah.
So the way it works is every country has a construction capacity, and it kind of seems like this is another one of the capacities that we talked about before, like authority and all those. But it doesn't look like it's going to be like molded in that same place. Like you're not going to see your construction capacity on your top bar or whatever. But basically, every country has a construction capacity. And also, an efficiency. So you have, say, 45 construction capacity, like we see in the image. That can be used on a number of buildings at the same time, but you can't just put all of that 45 in one place, because you're just not efficient enough. So it's spreading out among multiple buildings, and it just seems like pretty decent kind of situation to do it, right? In previous Paradox games, you click a button when you've got the resources to build a thing, and after a certain amount of time, you've now got the thing. But that doesn't happen in Victoria 3. Construction is like an ongoing cost, right? You're paying for the laborers to work on the construction site, the materials to build your thing. You don't just like grab all of the wood and the stone and the tools, put them all in a pile next to the construction site, and then just use them all instantly. Like they're constantly being brought in, so it needs like an upkeep of various resources, which it just seems like a really cool system. Like there's not really much to complain about.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird, I guess, that like you're building a building that builds buildings, and there are going to be pops involved, like employed in this building, whether you're building anything.
Isn't that how the real world works?
Yep.
Like we have construction companies,
right?
So
I think it could be interesting though if there was a way to model the idea that if construction stops, a bunch of people find new jobs. I
mean, that's kind of the case, though,
right?
Because these construction sectors are, if they're you are basically it's not less about them finding new jobs, but more about you're going to be paying them regardless of whether
you have something to build or not,
building stuff or not. So I guess these are public services, public service construction sectors.
It's like you've got to have the IT guys on the payroll, whether the computer's broken or not, because they need to know how to do it, and they need to be there on site to do it as soon as it happens.
That does raise a good question, though. What would a capitalist construction sector be? Like, if you're not building something, then the workers would go out of business, and the construction sector would make less money, and that could totally be used as a building in and of itself as well.
Yeah, Lechak did say here in the Dev comments that finding a way to make the construction industry private is an aspiration to have, actually. Like many of you pointed out, it does sound cool, realistic, but it's harder than it sounds. They talked about, having a bunch of unemployed construction workers suddenly can lead to the kind of like weirdness that everybody's sort of familiar with from Victoria 2, where there's just like huge swings in employment that disrupt the not even just the part of my brain that has like access to the extended dictionary module is just shut down right now due to energy cuts.
It's March.
Yeah.
Just blame it on being March. We can't decide if it's winter or spring, and so our brains just are mush.
Equilibrium.
Just like the snow outside.
Equilibrium is the word I was looking for. We sent somebody into the dark hallway and they found it. They dug it up. The dark hallway of the part of my brain that is currently on low power mode. Yeah. So yeah, like you remember how like artisans would just like mass switch jobs in Victoria 2. It sounds like it's kind of similar to that. It'd be interesting if there was some kind of a buffer, I don't know, so that like if construction workers are unemployed, they like there's a way for them to jobs, temporary jobs quickly or that. The other thing Martin said something that made me very happy. I would for sure like to revisit this in the future and tie the construction sector even more into the market, perhaps with a housing mechanic as well. That is one of the few things that I think is missing from Victoria 3's housing.
Wait, you mean people need houses?
Yeah, I would.
They don't just live in the middle of fields?
I mean, at the beginning of the game, when everybody's like subsistence farmers, yeah, they might just live in a shack in a field. But as we start to urbanize, we might need to think about where are people living and who owns the places they live in. Because obviously, landlords are a very important class that's
slumlords to the nasty side of landlords.
Yeah, you could have entire pops who are meeting all of their standards of living, just charging to live in a dump. So yeah, I would. I mean,
there are two types of landlords out there. There's the slumlords, and then there's the respectable kind.
Yeah.
But usually, even the 1800s, the respectable kind were the people renting to the few middle class.
Right. Yeah.
Not the poor people.
Yeah, I've had very mixed experiences with companies.
Mm-hmm.
I actually lived. If anybody saw the John Oliver episode about property management companies in the U.S., I was actually living in a house owned by that exact company that he brought up as being a problem when that episode aired. Luckily, I don't now. Now I have like. When I was living in San Francisco, where I just have a landlord who is like a person that I can talk to, which is a lot better, I think.
Yeah.
That kind of...
But even then, the apartment that we had before we bought this house, two guys owned it, or two guys, they owned a whole bunch of, because up here in New York, there's a lot of houses that have been split into multiple apartments. And so these guys, they would buy rundown houses, fix them up, and rent them out. Quite often they've been rentals before, but they've been owned by slumlords. Yeah, so these guys kept things decent, but even then, before they got a property manager, it was like trying to get a toddler to do something sometimes, unless it was a life and death, like, our refrigerator broke. They had someone in there the next morning to fix it. But something else, like the AC unit dying at the beginning or the end of summer, it took them until halfway through the next summer to get us a new one, and me bugging them constantly.
Yeah, the place I was living in when NoCB started, which thankfully I don't live there anymore, was built on a ravine or something, and like the concrete slab that the garage was sitting on was just sinking on one side. And like the repair guy that the property management company sent out to look at it was like, yeah, be glad you're renting, because if you ever see anything like this, never buy a house like, and he worked for the company that owned the house. Like, yeah, this is really bad news. Like, this garage is gonna fall over. Don't, yeah, there's nothing you can really Yeah, it was like there was like a drainage thing that came right through like the side yard, and apparently, I don't know, they didn't realize that that was a bad place to house or yeah. Hopefully when you construct things in Victoria 3, you won't. The other thing we got this week is a teaser from Martin about markets. First, we'll show the before picture. This is what the American market used to look like, and this is what it looks like now. They have they've solved the issue of having split state markets. Apparently, read the some of the dev ARs that have been on Discord and Reddit that was concerned about how that worked. I guess now they just have it work. You can have split states that are part of different.
Yeah, they've gone to state-based markets rather than state region, so just made the granularity a bit more,
Yeah.
which just leads to what looks like just a better simulation.
I'll be curious to see, like, if I guess you can't play as the. It's interesting that they don't start out on the American market. I'm curious if it would be viable to join the market of a colonial power as a non-colonial void. Like, I'm also curious why, like North Carolina, Virginia, New York, that's Massachusetts, are a different color. The rest of the American market.
It could be.
I think New York is supposed to be the market capital, so that might just be the color for the state that's your market capital. But why those other three states are in a lighter blue? I don't think it would be infrastructure. Like, if there's an infrastructure problem, it's gonna be out in the west.
Not there.
So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be.
And I doubt they'd recolor it for the top level.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Apparently, it is actually low market access. It's just not balanced right now.
Oh, okay. That could make sense because they're producing a lot of stuff and maybe they haven't.
I think your noise gate on OBS is a little too heavy.
Is it?
Apparently.
Just that. Not changed. Last time we recorded. I get a little bit closer to my mic. Oh, yeah, I can see it. That's.
Maybe just turn off the noise gate.
Let me see if that works a little better. I just turned up the hardware volume on my Yeti, so. Why would it start doing that all of a sudden?
Either way, American market looks
Just
better.
blame Loris for not being here.
Yeah.
Although you can see there with the British market, it's like this super pale peachy color. When we know the British market is red, so there must be very little access in the majority of Canada.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah. What else do we have to talk about? We have some Crusader Kings to talk about, some unexpected Crusader Kings to talk about.
That's true. It just dropped this morning after you actually compiled the list of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
so.
Let's actually move that to the front. So, apparently there was a live stream of the patch that's coming out soon, and don't know if you can see out in the corner here because of how I have OBS cropped. It appears that they're adding tribal courts to the game.
And there's 640 lines of change logs. So
yeah, you'll love to see it. The lighting you can also tell is like gotten way better. They don't have that weird like yellow overhead light that was like washing out the shadows and making it look like people didn't have shadows. From the previous
yeah, it was pretty weird before.
Yeah, it didn't look super realistic. Like if someone was standing by a window, you could see that they had a shadow. But if they were like in the middle of the court, it looked like there weren't any shadows because they were getting washed out by the overhead light. So I'm glad they fixed that. This also, I think this is slightly different from the regular Western medieval court, if I'm not mistaken, because floor is like stone.
Customizable courts, let's go! Pick your own chandelier! Pick your window style!
Yeah!
Let's turn it into the fucking Sims!
I'd love to get some stained glass in there.
The Sims and CK3 already have a lot in common.
Oh yeah. They do. They
You just need to add pools and pool ladders to the CK3.
No, we don't need pool ladders.
I wonder if any medieval, I guess probably in the Middle East and India, they probably had pool. Might have been too cold to have a pool in like Northern Europe.
I know you're like a Romaphobe, but like Roman baths, would they not count? They were all over counts. Britain. We have a city named after them.
That's true. I've been to Bath. I've actually been to the baths at Bath, so I don't know why I'm asking that. I guess I'm thinking
what have the Romans ever done for us? They gave us the ability to go for a swim.
I guess I'm thinking more
it's something that's man-made, because I mean, you could go swim at the beach.
I guess I'm thinking more of like a personal,
no.
A
it's
personal
Britain.
swimming
You don't
pool.
go swimming at the beach. You go there for hypothermia and
you can go swimming at the beach in Britain for about 2 days out of the entire year. In the southern parts, probably. I wouldn't do that in Scotland.
I just wouldn't in general.
Yeah, there's I guess I'm thinking more of like a personal swimming pool versus public bath. I don't know if that was
yeah. Depends if whoever got their hands on the land that had the bath was able to keep people away from it. Which, I mean, if you're a lord or a king, probably could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how this actually works. I was predicting tribal courts were probably going to be part of their own expansion. But I guess it would make sense that maybe they would, if you have royal court, you can get like a basic version of the tribal court, and then if you also get tribal expansion, that still seems weird because then you would need to still own royal court. I don't know. I have
a theory that they'll add like more specialized tribal courts.
Yeah. Well, and they've had things in the past where multiple expansions can unlock the same. So I guess a way that they could do it, would be if you own Royal Court and not the tribal Old Gods 2 or whatever they end up calling it, you just get the basic tribal court like we see here, where it's just a variant on the feudal court. And then if you have tribal expansion, you don't have access to the royal court courts for once you feudalize, but you do have the expanded tribal courts. Don't own royal? I don't know. I'm just completely speculating about expansions that we have no idea. That's I hope that they add something more than just a tribal court that is a reskin of art. Eventually. For tribals and no. That would be my hope. Yeah, we also have this little list of sneak peek of what's coming up. improving the AI for Warfare and Crusades. Lots of work has gone into this. We're excited to see what you think. Fixing the council task events not triggering properly, which I didn't even realize was happening. Balancing the world war for England. Sadly, I think Lambert and I are both fond of the current patch where William always.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a little weird that Harold always a Harold always wins.
I mean, this is
pretty
just
much.
we're just fixing history.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we play these games for? Other than
Of
Hoy, we
course.
don't talk about that.
Yeah. It was already off. It was already so far off the rails by the time you got to the Hoy time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. Kind of hope it doesn't break saves because I started a multiplayer campaign with some friends on Monday.
They said in the tweet, someone asked them if it would break saves, and they said no. Which I hope not, because I'm doing an achievement run at the moment on stream.
Yeah.
No, and isn't updating to this version for this patch. They're going to wait until the HAL-S update comes out before they update. So to do the multiplayer that I do in Amber now, we need to keep rolling back to 32.2, which is fine for me because I don't play vanilla anymore. So it's just going to stay on 32.2 until HAL-S comes out.
Yeah. That's yeah. But yeah, I think this is stuff that's going into this patch seems, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. We also have a pretty big announcement from RS team, which is that Grekulf, Daniel Moragard, who has been the he was the second game director. He's been game director since Wiz moved on to making what we didn't know at the time was Victoria 3. Is going to be stepping down to lead a new project. Kind of curious what that is. I think it possibly could be Stellaris 2. If you think about the fact that Crusader Kings 3 development started around 2015, and it was like really in production by like 2018, and then they announced it in 2019, I think.
Or taking over from someone else possibly who's been working on it or something, because I do know Moa, who worked on Stellaris the whole time I've known him, he went to a secret project like a year ago.
Oh yeah. That could
and
be.
Clearly he's just working on his passion project, which is March of the Platypus 2.
In space.
In space, yeah.
Yeah, like, so Stellaris is going to be 6 years old this year, which is so weird because 2016 still feels like wasn't that long ago to me. And if
1990 was 10 years ago.
Yeah, of course. 1990 will always be.
Yeah, people talk about 20 years ago, and I think, oh, the 1980s, right?
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, so
time just stopped at 2000.
If they're starting development now, that means that they would probably announce it and start doing dev diaries, maybe 2 years from now, at which point, Stellaris will be 8 years old, and that's, I think, what has sort of turned out to be the maximum lifespan of a Paradox game. I mean, I don't think, EU4 is the only one that has gone longer than that, and I don't think EU4 has greatly benefited from going longer than that. I think everybody is kind of ready for EU5, so I think about 7 to 8 years is kind of what the lifespan of a Paradox Grand Strategy game ideally should be. I mean, I don't know. Crusader Kings 3 was built on a completely different framework with all the lessons they learned from the DLC from their past games, so maybe the newer ones can hold up longer than that. We'll see how that works.
I'm imagining a ruler designer for, your species designer in CK3 using the same, character portrait system that we have in CK3. That would be nightmare fuel, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons the Stellaris 2 appeals to me is it's one of those games similar to Imperator, where it changed a lot from 1.0 to now, to the point that they kind of made it into a completely different game than it was at launch. So I think that's kind of having a clean slate could maybe allow them to do some cool things that they weren't able to do because they were working from a base that was had completely different design sensibilities than what Stellaris ended up being eventually. I do think, all of that being said, Stellaris is probably in one of the best places it's ever been in. I feel like the AI is pretty functional. The late game performance is not completely solved, but it's very playable. And I think out of all of Paradox's older games, older meaning older than CK3, I think it's in the best place of maybe any of them now.
There's also the fact that it was only about a year ago when they separated out and they have the maintenance team.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever they're called.
Right, the custodians. Uh-huh.
Yes. So it's possible that, they'll be taking Stellaris into the future and the other team will slowly get smaller, perhaps.
Could be. That would make sense.
And slowly move over to something else.
So yeah, Stephen Murray, who you probably know as Eladrin if you're on the forums, will be taking over as game director. I think Stellaris still has room to grow, but I would also be completely unsurprised to hear that they're already in, early talks about it.
Also feels wild that he's been the game director for Stellaris for 4 years.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Just no, it's been 6 months. Shut up.
Yeah, he did some good stuff. I'm a little bit bummed because we both I've interviewed him a couple times and we both loved the idea of retiring your empire and prestiging and continuing in that galaxy. I don't know if the board game Small World, if any with that. That's an idea we both kind of geeked out about, and I don't think that they, ever got to a point where they make that make sense.
There's still Stellaris 2.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like, though, if they name it, they wouldn't call it Stellaris 2. For some reason, I feel like it would call it Stellaris 2.0 or something, just to stick with more of a sci-fi-y sort of feel.
Stellaris, yeah, Stellaris Evolutions,
Stellaris Returns.
Well, I think they stick with the number, but
go with the aliens. So Stellaris.
Yeah, I think Apocalypse was Stellaris 2.0, so that might be slightly confusing. But,
true.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also the fact that all of the others, they use Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they do that with Stellaris.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky 3 isn't using a Roman numeral. Actually, neither is CK3, is that? Doesn't that use a...
I thought some of the artwork had Roman numerals in it.
Yeah, I think
nothing for CK. Sorry, Vicky does.
I think Paradox is kind of inconsistent with their use.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hoy doesn't use Roman numerals.
Oh yeah,
but
CK3 is Roman numerals, but yeah, Vicky 3 isn't.
Yeah. Good luck to Daniel on whatever he's working on now. Good luck to Steven taking over. Interested to see. I would guess Stellaris probably has 3 more expansions. Not counting PC's packs.
Well, yeah, they're just moving people over within the last year to start on Stellaris 2. It's gonna be a while.
That would be my prediction, is that we'll probably get 2 or maybe 3 more big expansions, and then a couple story packs and stuff in between. But I'm pretty happy with the current state of Stellaris. So yeah, they did a good job. Every game director so far who has worked on Stellaris has done a pretty good job at moving it forward. One game that some people are divided on whether it's moving forward in positive ways, though, is EU4. As evidenced by the top post on the subreddit right now, question, is the France update bad? And I want to put a big caveat on this, that I have not played it yet, everything I'm going to say about this is based on me watching other people play it and like reading things people have written about how it works now. The big thing, I mean, there's some little stuff like weird UI stuff like that you can't view loans now unless you can repay one, which just seems like that is just a bug that got introduced at some point in development because it doesn't really make sense. Pretty minor, like in the grand scope of things. The main thing though is that they've made all these changes to the battle system, and some people are very unhappy about it. Generally, battles last longer now, and stack wipes have become very rare. Where you can have a much smaller army and they can inflict some casualties and retreat, and then come back and inflict some casualties and retreat. Which I was prepared to come into this show like, you guys are just mad because it's different. This is Shattered Retreat all over again. They made it different and they made it better, but you don't like it because it's different and you learned how to play it the old way. I did read some pretty, like, well thought out rebuttals to that, so I will say that I can see both sides. I think philosophically I like the way they're doing it now better. But in terms of in practice, and like especially for multiplayer, I can see how some people would find it annoying, even if I think some of that is just being stuck in the old way of. I don't know, Lambert. Have you read over the changes or gotten a chance to? I know you don't really play vanilla anymore.
Well, I think the big thing here is it is a little bit awkward because people have always said, "Oh, the battles they take too long. They're unrealistically long," which is objectively true. Like the battles do take unrealistically long, but that is for gameplay reasons. If battles took a realistic amount of time, you would never have the chance to do any kind of reinforcements. So basically, whoever can suffer the most amount of attrition would win. That's obviously not feasible. But at the same time, having them last as long as they do, like previous to this patch, sort of like it's what people were used to. We'd sort of accepted that this was okay. It sucks that it's unrealistic, but this is for gameplay. Having them last longer just seems like, well, why? Because what is the reason that it was done? Was it done so that the AI was, able to was given a bit more leeway for being stupid? That they'd be able to reinforce from further away? It kind of seems that way.
I don't necessarily I don't feel strongly about it's better that battles are longer. I honestly think that is maybe kind of silly. The part that I like about this new system is the fact that they have made stack wipes harder, which is, some people are upset about.
I would say makes sense.
Yeah, I like the idea that I can have a smaller army of higher quality troops that can get in and inflict more casualties than we take and fall back and keep doing that to wear the enemy down. I really like that. I really like that the new system lets you do that. So that is where I was coming from when I was saying, I don't know, this just seems better to me and people are mad because it's different. Stack wiping, the whole stack wiping meta in EU4 seems like something that's very gamey, and it's something people got used to because they could exploit it easily. And now it's modeling warfare more realistically in that sense. Maybe not in how long the battles take. That is getting a little bit absurd, but
You mean a battle doesn't go on for 4 months?
Yeah, generally not. Sieges, sure. Sieges could last even longer than they do Paradox.
Oh, don't fuck sieges. I am terribly unlucky when it comes to siege rolls.
Yeah.
What we'll say, the stack wipe thing, just take a leaf out of Imperator's book and have it so that the retreat delay is less, right? If you have it so that armies can retreat after, I don't even know what the fucking number is now. Say it's 10 days. If you wipe their morale before 10 days, it gets stack wiped. And maybe they could change it so if you get wiped before 5 days, then you're stack wiped. Therefore, battles don't last any longer than they did previously. It's just what used to be a stack wipe now won't be. That's the way you fix that if that is the problem you're aiming to fix.
Yeah. I don't know. I just keep coming back to really looking forward to EU5.
Legit.
Like, there's probably ways to fix this, but I don't know. I'd rather just play EU5.
I think we just need EU5. EU4 is such a tangled mess.
I love EU4. I have played thousands of hours of EU4. I think it is one of the best strategy games of all time, unequivocally. I don't know. I've got a lot of other games to play, and I don't like. I'm ready for EU5.
Also, why was it called the France update?
I guess
none of the changes were about France.
I guess because it just didn't have to do anything to do with a specific region, and that was one of the great powers they hadn't used as a patch name yet.
Well, then save it for when you change France, for fuck's sake.
Maybe they don't have any plans to change France because they're about to.
Well, now they can't.
EU5. Yeah, they could call it. Yeah, they could call it the Aquitaine.
The Louis update.
Or the other.
Which Louis? Any of them? Don't matter.
Yeah.
Hey, Dogberry, we've been grumbling for EU5 for a year, 2 years.
How long's the podcast been on?
Well, we're on episode 105. It's been a little over 2 years since we started. It was end of 2019, before the world descended into chaos.
It kind of seemed like Emperor was supposed to be this big send-off, and then after that, it was like, oh no, we could make years more of EU4 content.
It was a send-off for the Stockholm-based studio for it.
Yeah.
It's a send-off for EU4 as it sails to fucking Spain.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I guess it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. We didn't have as much news. And also my dog is getting very...
I haven't heard you talk about Total War Warhammer. Let's talk about Total War Warhammer.
Oh god.
Yeah, let's just put Rose to sleep again. Warhammer.
Y'all can talk about that all you want when I stop for a couple weeks after baby's born.
And when I announce when I announce for the Warhammer podcast that I've been fomenting in the shadows. No, that's the last thing I need right now. But by the way, next week is probably going to be my last week as full-time host. If you guys didn't catch the last, you can go listen to that or watch it on. Hear what's going on with that. But Rose, what have you been up to?
Stardew, CK3 achievement runs for YouTube. I finished Beta Israel, which should be going up tomorrow, actually.
I hear that's really hard in the current. I mean, it was always pretty hard. Not really?
My video is less than 10 minutes. It was that simple for me.
Really? Wow.
Oh, one of the speed achievements.
Yeah. Maybe I just got really, really lucky. I don't know, but we'll see.
No, all skill. All skill.
I need to check that out. Yeah, that might be a speed run practice.
It was a little over 30 years in game.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not... It was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I finished it during the Rosebud's nap in one session. I was like, what? How?
Okay.
Did not expect.
Well, that's impressive. I need to go see how you did actually.
Fika was probably just about as easy.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to Fika.
No. It's Fika, please.
Fika, sorry.
Fika, yeah. It's literally going out for coffee. That's it.
Well,
yeah.
That was probably easier. The hardest
is your
part.
Video all saying Fika.
Yes, it is.
You will be
and no one has corrected me in any YouTube comments. Hey.
Oh,
yeah. The Swedes are serious about their Fika. They're pretty hardcore.
Yeah. There's a coffee shop next to me called Fika.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I live in a Swedish-speaking town. So.
Well, hey, believe it or not, somehow no one corrected me in a YouTube comment about it.
Oh my god, fools.
With 1.4k views, so enough people saw it, you'd think someone would comment on it.
Just no Swedes.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, someone said usually with a longer eye, but it wasn't like a nasty way of correcting or anything.
I think they also do. I don't know what that sound is called, but it sounds like they kind of do that like back the throat thing, where it's like.
That's just a Swedish accent.
Okay.
Yeah. See, the Danes. The Swedish speakers in Finland speak the best version of Swedish, and then if you're in Sweden, then you speak Swedish with a frog in your throat, and then if you speak Danish, it's two frogs.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I have noticed, like, particularly around the Stockholm area, they have that kind of sound sometimes. It's hard to even do.
Swedish like this.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I'm sorry, but
and it's weird because it's only on specific vowels, so they'll be like going along, and then that sound creeps in there, and it always kind of catches me off guard a little bit. Yeah. Because like the Swedish like learning tapes I've listened to, they like seem like they're going out of their way not to do that, but it seems like that's very common in like everyday speech in parts of Sweden. That's a regional thing, or what?
Could be.
Yeah, Lambert, what have you been up to?
Well, I hurt my back, so I bought a new chair. That's what I did. But a lot of my time has been spent editing. I do a once a week Anbana multiplayer where I play as the Phoenix Empire, and then I spend most of my time editing those into like watchable videos, which is not fun. I was about to say it's fun. It's not fun. I hate editing. Other than that, I play D&D every Monday on the Component Cast channel, which I am absolutely loving. And other than that, I guess just doom scrolling on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that going around.
Oh, yeah.
I also spend a lot of time flipping between your politics channel and my politics channel on Discord.
I've been trying to like stay away from the politics Twitter. Some historically bad takes going on. Historically bad.
Yeah.
Like nuclear war would not be that bad level take.
Oh, I've seen that.
And I'm not exaggerating. Like people are saying that.
Well, speaking as someone who had parents that, sat deep underground in bunkers to, potentially launch ICBMs, there's a lot of fail-safes in the American system. And it comes down, I'm not sure about the Russian system, of course, but it comes down to, the people that are actually down there have to be willing to turn the key.
Yeah. I think that's good. That's,
And between the Cuban Missile Crisis and the 80s, when my parents started doing that, they had to put covers over the keyholes because people were sticking gum and toothpicks and stuff in them so they wouldn't work.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Wasn't there was that one Russian guy that is considered like a hero because he like averted World War III because he realized that something was a false alarm. I'm sure someone in chat will know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Vasily Arkhipov.
Yeah. That's I think the person I would want manning any of that sort of equipment. I haven't really
rather him than Putler.
Yeah. I haven't really done anything strategy related lately. This week is sort of a wind down week for me because I had like 2 or 3 crazy weeks ago, so I'm pretty much just hanging out playing Elden Ring, and that's about it. I needed a little bit of a break, but cool stuff on the horizon. You can follow me on Twitter and all that stuff. You can follow the show on Twitter. You can follow us on like SoundCloud and Spotify and all those cool places. We'll be back next week for my last full-time episode of NoCB. Doesn't mean I'll never be back on again.
Well, you've already promised to be back on the week after I give birth.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing some fill-in shows, I think, after Rosebud number 2 arrives.
My Discord has deemed her rose petal.
Rose petal. Okay.
Mm.
And
Works.
And then the third is rose thorn.
No,
then
no.
the fourth is rose
There's no third. There's no third.
that sounds about right. Like, if I was gonna have kids, I think 2 is the absolute max that I would.
My rule
Yeah.
that I've told myself ever since I was like
Yeah.
high school was I would have 2 healthy pregnancies.
Yeah.
That would be it, because if I said 2 kids, I knew I'd end up with twins for the second pregnancy.
Oh, there you go.
So, which is what has happened to my stepbrother and his wife.
I think they're
expecting twins.
The principle I like to endorse is you don't ever want to be outnumbered by your kids, because then we've all played Crusader Kings. We know what can happen.
Apparently, going from 1 to 2 is difficult. 2 to 3 is harder, and then once after that, 3 to 4, 6 to 7, it's all the same.
And plus, with gavel, with gavel kind, if you have 1 too many, it's kind of easy to get rid of one of them. But if you have 3 or 4 or 5, then it's your realm's just going to be a mess.
You can only disinherit so many.
2, and then we had Logan, and we're like, yeah, 1. One's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes 1 is done.
Yeah, just inherits everything. Just
yeah.
Is that. All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.